G'day folks, it is now part 4 of this little series that I've made on these machines I got from work, and I just want to thank you all once again for watching them. Hopefully you continue to enjoy the type of work I'm doing with these machines. So today I think we're going to tackle a couple more of these machines, mainly being the Slot 1 Pentium 3 and this mysterious, at least mysterious as far as this video series is concerned, Socket 478 Celeron machine. And maybe if I've got time, we'll tackle the Socket 370 machine. No guarantees on that, but we'll see what happens. I figure I'd tackle these machines today since I figure everybody likes the older machine videos that I make. So this will be a treat for everybody who watches these types of videos. So without further ado, I guess let's get started. All right, this isn't going to be the best frame in the world, but I'll try to make it work the best that I can. So we're just going to move this thing over to here. Now, I figure we'll start off by cleaning the Slot 1 Pentium 3 system. And probably what I think I'm going to do is, at least as far as after I get these things cosmetically clean, is I'm probably just going to install Windows XP as far as the OS, so I can figure out hardware at a basic level, figure out drivers and such. That way when it depends on, like, I think the Socket 370 system or the, in this case, the Slot 1 Pentium 3 rig, then if I want to install Windows 98 or 2000, then I'll have probably an easier time finding drivers for these things rather than trying to guesstimate them with 98 and having basically no luck. So that'll just help save myself a bit of time. And then I believe one of the viewers of my videos, of this video series particularly, mentioned about fixing this up with some super glue. So I don't have any on hand. I do plan to get some, so we'll see what happens. And then it's not going to look pretty afterwards, but I'll try my best to see if I can get this front panel fixed back up the best that I can get it. There's still a chunk of plastic missing here on the top, but it ain't gonna be perfect, and I know that, but hey, for a free computer, I really can't complain too much. So it is what it is. Without further ado, time to get started. Now, if I look like a sweaty pig, well, that's just how it's gonna be for this video because I'm outside in nearly triple-degree heat, which is extremely humid, or at least it feels extremely humid. So I'm gonna look like crap, and that's okay. That's just how it's gonna be for this video, so deal with it. Alright, time to take a new approach to cleaning the insides of these things out. Because they have a lot of dust. The duster can just simply won't do. So I'm going to bring out something else that'll definitely deliver high pressure air. Well, I think that certainly did the trick. At least I better hope that it did. Definitely not as dirty as I was expecting it to be, but I may have already hit this thing before with that blower. So probably at this point, I'm just gonna have to clean up the rest of it with a Clorox wipe. Why don't you say we move on to the next system? All right, just for the sake of making it easier for myself, and that way I'm not outside nearly as much, I'm just going to clean the other two on the exterior as well as the interior with the blower out here, and then bring them all inside and just treat them all to a bunch of Clorox wipes. That's how I think I'm going to go about this. So up next, I think we'll do the next easiest, which, hopefully I didn't knock the camera over there. It's going to be the Socket 370 system. There's definitely some pencil up here on the top. So let's see if I can clean that off with the disinfectant spray. And then obviously I'll move to the other system with the Socket 478 motherboard in it. And finally, last but not least, we've got the mystery rig. Make sure that's in frame. Well, not really. Bring it a little closer. Now, time for the fun part. Can we get this thing open on camera? So, what I've never introduced you all to until now is the way that this case opens. So, there's one screw right here, right? Seems conventional enough. But then you go to try to open it, and you can't open it. Well, you might be thinking, well, what the heck? That seems pretty cruddy. Well, here's the trick. You have to kind of like move the front panel off a little bit. And it could just be because this thing's age that it might have an easier time doing this than what I remember it possibly being like. But then this peg here on the front panel needs to be separated from the metal side panel, and then it comes off because there's a little loophole here to which when this is on, the front panel secures it in place. So it's kind of an anti-tamper method, so that way people can't easily get in and steal your hardware unless you know the secret to unhook it. It's kind of a genius design, also kind of a nuisance because I didn't think it was like that. But hey, pretty clever engineering, I would say. Anyways. All right, I'll say put this one back together and it'll be good to go. Yeah, by the way, I'm not joking when I mean that I'm literally out here like sweating my literal rear end off because, like I mentioned, the weather is making me just drip and sweat like really bad. And my hair is all messy because it's all greasy because, you know, I've been sweating and that's what it does. So I've got to clean up all this crap here, and then otherwise these two are ready to go inside and then we can proceed. I'm also going to take a shower because I look gross and I don't want to represent that on camera, if you can't already tell. So, jump cut time. Alright, now it's time for a bit of a scenery change to my room because my grandmother's on the phone, so I don't obviously want to be recording in the same space. But they are all at least as cleaned up as I can get them for now. I could go more in depth, but I think for the focus of this video, they're all generally speaking pretty good. Definitely the two machines that are yellowed noticeably are the ones in the same case off to the left on the socket 370 system and the slot 1 system. Especially the socket 370 system's got a lot of yellowing, especially the original CD-ROM drives, and that CDRW is not too much better either. Definitely it is noticeably more yellow. Even on the camera you can kind of see it's not great, but you can kind of tell. Meanwhile, the slot 1 system, it's definitely yellowed, but not nearly to the same extent, so I'll probably leave that one alone. And I don't even know about the CD-ROM drive on that thing, man. That thing is just baked. Holy crap. But they all are looking much better than they were before. That's much I can definitely say. So I think it's hard drive time. And for the occasion, I've brought in my box of hard drives, which is on my bed, and it's nowhere near easy enough to carry with one hand, so I'm not doing it right now, but bear with me. We're gonna see if I can find some hard drives. Now, I am gonna grab that 60 gigabyte hard drive that I had spoke about in a previous video for this system here, and I'm gonna put it into that. But as far as these other two systems, well, I gotta find a hard drive, so, you know, we'll see what happens. All right, the ever-growing box of hard drives here. Let's see what we can find. Let's see, that's a 40 gig. That might be a little too large for the slot 1 system. Got a lot of 40 and 80 gig drives on the top here. Definitely can't use that 250 gig because that's way too big. What about this one? 6 gigabyte. That might just be a little too small, actually. I don't want to go squeezing myself through some of those kinds of compromises, but what about this one here? A 13.6 gig. Well, that could actually work for at least one of them. What about this one here? Is this one also the same drive, same capacity or something like that? Perhaps? 10 gigabyte. You know, I'm going to try these two drives first. I'm going to see if those will work since they're very similar. So I figure the 13.6 gig drive can go on the socket 370 system, and then the 10 gigabyte drive can go on the slot 1 system. I don't think that's too unreasonable. So I just gotta go get the last drive, and that way then we can get it installed. All right, so here it is, a 60 gigabyte Hitachi DeskStar drive there. It even says hgst.com on the label there, so that's quite interesting. Anyways, I know a user who was going on my YouTube community post that I made today while I've been recording this, and they'd asked about all of the expansion cards down here in the back. They were wondering what they were. Now, the best guess that I've got for these, and sorry about the lighting, I'm kind of facing away from the light here. The best guess I have for these is that they are like controller cards for use with serial devices, most likely for instrumentation purposes. That's my only guess as to what these are used for, since all they do is they add COM ports to the computer in addition to COM 1 on the motherboard. It looks like you've got like COM 2 through COM 7 just in these expansion slots alone. So my guess is that they were just strictly used for controlling equipment and whatnot. And that's about all I've really got. Now, I won't be able to answer directly until I know exactly what I'm dealing with, but that would be my guess. So hopefully that answers your question to at least some degree, since that's about all I've got as far as at a glance information anyway. All right, I got hard drives installed. I actually decided to go against the time-lapse stuff just because I had to go find screws and it was taking a while to get certain things installed, so it's whatever. But I also noticed about the slot 1 Pentium 3 system, the CPU fan used to be connected to another header known as power_fan, and I noticed that there is actually a header on the top of the board labeled CPU_fan. So I did the obvious thing and switched the fans over. So that might actually help a little bit with maintaining fan curves and whatnot. Hopefully that's the case. I don't know why they had it wired up originally. Maybe that was just so it'll run at full speed. Really not sure. But either way, this was the machine that I'd fixed the video card in. So now it has an ATI Rage 128 Pro video card. So it'll be quite a bit better than the ATI Rage XL that was in there before, or whatever. No, that was a different system. It was the Radeon, not Radeon, that wasn't even a Radeon at all. It was the Rage Pro Turbo AGP, whatever it was called. I'm just brain dumping right now, so it's whatever. Anyways, let me go see if I can find a Windows disk, and we'll start getting these things put up on the bench, or rather my little table there. and we'll see if they detect the hard drives and see if we can get Windows installed on any of them. All right, well, first things first, let's get started with the slot 1 Pentium 3. Excuse my squeaky chair here. Looks like it automatically decided to power up here. Beautiful. Probably should go into the BIOS, make sure the date and time is set properly, which it definitely isn't. I'll have to check all the connections here, at least as far as the drive is concerned. It is running, so that's a good sign. I just don't know if I got a jumper in there, so I'll have to figure that one out. But in any case, let's see here. Today is July, actually no, it's August, actually, the 1st of 2021. And it is currently 17:30, so that should work. I'm gonna go through all the rest of these settings here and configure them, and then we'll go from there. Looks like I got it right. It sees a 10 gigabyte hard drive, at least that's what it looks like. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say yes to whatever it picked there. I'm assuming that's correct. And sure, and then sure, whatever. That should probably be fine. Because yeah, everything else in here is fairly simple. So I don't know. I don't remember if there's an operating system on that hard drive. I guess I'll find out. Oh, there actually is an operating system on the hard drive. All right. Don't think it's going to start up, though. Yeah, I didn't think so. I did not think it was going to start up at all. So that does not surprise me. All right. Well, this one will need an OS reinstall. I'll have to find the disk here. Turn that off. And yeah, we'll just have to figure it out. See if we can get Windows going on this. Slight change of plans. Looks like I'm going to have to swap out the optical drive for now because, well, the one that's in here does not seem to want to open its tray. So I was able to get this one out of the socket 370 system, which was screwed in from both sides annoyingly. But at least I was able to get this one to open. So I'm going to try a disk, and if it seems to read the disk just fine, then I will go forth with this because, well, I kind of need an optical drive if I'm going to install Windows. That's kind of an important thing. So I found a Windows 2000 disk, funnily enough. Got the ACPI BIOS in the system is not fully compliant with the ACPI specification blue screen. Gosh, I haven't seen that in quite a while. So, yeah, that's interesting. I'm going to have to figure out what that's occurring. But anyways, I thought that was just hilarious. To do this, simply press the F7 key when you're not prompted to install storage drivers. The system will not notify you that the F7 key is pressed. It'll silently disable ACPI and allow you to continue installation. That's going to be interesting to install Windows XP on. Well, at least it told me, I guess. I don't know. I'll have to check the BIOS setup and see what's going on.
1 week later.
All right, it's been about a week since I've revisited this stuff, so, you know, you obviously were seeing it now thanks to the magic of video editing, but it's been a week, and I've gotten Windows installed on all three of the machines. I'm just showing the slot 1 Pentium 3 system here for reference. I'll probably not turn on the other two. Maybe I'll turn on the socket 370 system, but there's no sense in turning on the 478 system since there's nothing really special about it. It's just missing a bunch of drivers. But I will show this one, because why not? Now, if you remember, the system... it was having problems with ACPI, and so it was blue screening every time you try to start up Windows 2000 or NT or Windows XP setup. And so this may just be a system where a BIOS update's necessary. I'll have to look up the motherboard and see if that's something I can do over floppy disk. But for right now, I've installed Windows XP in the mode with, you know, when you spam F7 when starting Windows setup. And so it just means that you have to turn the computer off with the power switch every time. I don't know if that's just some quirk with this particular computer's ACPI setup in the BIOS, or if it's simply just incompatible BIOS to the extent where the ACPI support is going to be different enough to where it causes Windows 2000 and XP to blue screen. But in any case, I did have a successful time installing Windows XP on this, so I'll just boot it up and show you around it real quick. And then, like I said, yeah, I'll probably show the 370 system, and then we'll probably wrap this video up. All right, and here we go. It still makes that weird sound when it's on. I'm not sure exactly where that's coming from, but I'll have to figure that out later. Yes, it does have a BIOS of March 23rd, 1999, so I don't know if that's anything in between when there is ACPI mode changes. I would just be under the assumption that that is true. My XP disc ended up being RTM, which is quite interesting, so that's what's starting up now, which probably also helps with the performance as well, since this only has 192 megs of RAM in it. I did bump it up slightly from 128, where it was at earlier, and even more so than 64. I actually put back in the original 64 meg stick this thing had alongside the 128 meg stick while it's running XP, so it has 192 megs, so it's not nearly as slow. And here we are at the desktop. Nothing really exciting here other than the fact that it's an 800 by 600. But if I go into my computer properties here, it's not particularly fast. We'll say that much. The lack of RAM is probably the biggest limiting factor, but also because of the fact that this is a 450 megahertz Pentium 3, she's not going to be an amazingly fast Windows XP machine. That I just started it up. Come on, man. Come on, man. It has a little bit of a hitch when it first gets going. Of course, that's just probably down to this particular machine and its quirks. Alright. I hear it trying to do something. Hard drive is crunching. Yep, there it goes. There we go. Yeah, Intel Pentium 3 processor, 450 megahertz, and 192 megs of RAM. So everything, for the most part, actually works out of the box. If I go to Device Manager and I open that up, surprisingly, everything's here. And that includes the sound card, which in this case is a Sound Blaster 16. Video card, Rage 128 Pro, that makes sense. The chipset, obviously that's supported because that's got USB, so that shows up. It's a Intel 443BX chipset by the looks of it. And not much else really to report. You know, US Robotics 56K modem, woo. The Ethernet card, as I mentioned, 3-COM Etherlink XL, that's supported under XP. So technically, this machine actually has internet access. So let's say I wanted to go ping www.google.com. Well, there you go. I can ping www.google.com. So that's working just fine. And otherwise, well, there's only really one quirk. I think it's with this video card and the driver and the TV all combined together. But if I set 1024 by 768 resolution, let's see if it does it here. Yeah, there it goes. Yeah, see, it's doing this. I'm not sure what this is about, because I think this is the TV doing this. I've never seen it do this with any other VGA output from a computer before. But what it's doing is it's overlapping off to this side. I don't know if it's just because of the refresh rate of this video card, or if it's just something to do with the fact that Windows is misdetecting the monitor. I really don't know. But it's really interesting that it's doing this. It just overlaps, and so you can have dual start menus and dual mouse cursors over off this side of the screen. But it probably runs better if you leave it at 800 by 600 anyway, just because of the limited frame buffer. It'd probably benefit from a different driver anyway. This has some kind of vertical sync issues. It kind of tears when you move the video or the windows in real time, which this card does support, surprisingly. But it is kind of not really the best card for Windows XP. It will work, but not brilliantly so. It'd probably be, again, better if you had the official ATI drivers. But yeah, otherwise, this is just a standard Windows XP installation. Nothing really to report here. This is obviously not going to run XP full-time. It's just way too slow for that. So likely what I'm going to do is put 98 SE on this and just go about my day. That's what I was thinking I was going to do. But I figured I'd show it off here on XP anyway, because it does work, and it works surprisingly well, and everything is supported. So I mean, if I really wanted to, I could put XP on this thing and run that, but what would be the enjoyment of that, because it wouldn't necessarily be the fastest thing. Anyways, let's go ahead and shut this down. And I'll go ahead and bring up the Socket 370 system for at least a little bit, because why not? And yeah, because of course ACPI support is not working properly, I have to physically turn the computer off with the power button. And that's that. Alright, it's now the Socket 370 machine's turn. Guess I'll turn it on. CPU fan has got some good sounding bearings that just go when the machine first turns on or whatever. Probably reminiscent of some old fan problems. I don't know. Or maybe it's just, I don't know. It does clear up though, so luckily that's a good thing. I don't know if it's just from the CPU heat or what. I'm really not entirely sure. Interestingly, the network card on this machine, it might just be because of this particular model, but it does support booting off the network through PIII, which is pretty useful. So I won't demonstrate it now, obviously, because, well, I mean, I'm not going to network boot this machine. Not a lot of software that would be able to do that, but let's say I had a VM running with Windows Server 2003 and remote installation services. This could come in handy to try experimenting with that and see how it works, but that'll be for another day. Volume's really loud on that one. We're going to turn the volume down. But in any case, so here it is, and I got the sound working. It wasn't working before, so I did want to take a quick moment to install it. So now that it is working, it's working. Yeah, I know you can't reconnect network drives, that's fine. So now it has this really cool mixer that you can use to change the volume of the different inputs and whatnot. Probably be better suited towards an older version of Windows, but hey, it works just fine here. As you can see, 500 megahertz Pentium 3 with 256 megs of RAM. This would probably be better suited for an older version of Windows. I actually don't know the proper clock speed of this thing's processor. It's right now running at 500 megahertz, which works just fine with this particular system. And it would probably work with a slightly faster one, but I just don't know what the CPU clock speed itself is. I'd have to take the heatsink off and figure that out and probably repaste it while I'm at it. But it seems like, at least for right now, 500 megahertz is working fine. And as you can see, here's the video card, the ATI Rage XL, which, you know, not the fastest video card, but it does work. I'd probably, if I was to use this thing for a gaming computer, I'd probably put something else in, because I don't think a Rage XL is going to give you that much performance. Otherwise, yeah, it's just your basic version of Windows XP. Nothing really to report here. So, you know how it is. So, I'm going to keep this relatively short. There's not too much to report, other than the fact that, you know, this is an Asus motherboard, and I would probably see if I could get the CPU to run at a faster clock speed. And obviously, these things need CMOS battery replacements, but that'll be for another time, and so on and so forth. So, I'll just go ahead and quit the rambling here. So hopefully you like what you saw with this video. If you want to see more of these machines, of course, you know what to do. You can hit this button, and if you didn't like it so much, well, then you also know to hit that button. If you want to see more content, just go ahead and click subscribe down below and click the bell so you don't miss when I upload new videos. And with that having been said, thank you all very much for coming to watch, and I'll catch you all in the next one. That was still really loud.